What is going on, guys? Welcome to our channel, and today's video is going to be an ultimate breakdown of whether Nigma version 3.0 with Sumail will return to being a strong team. I'm sure you guys all saw the announcement video, probably the best announcement video like ever in my opinion. That epic soundtrack playing as he puts on the crown. Beautiful, just glorious. However, I do want to mention that Sumail crowning himself here seems slightly out of place narratively because he's not had great results and is now on a Division 2 team. So just imagine if they kind of change the narrative to having him setting his sights on reclaiming a crown that's currently out of his reach. I mean, that's an Oscars right there. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Yeah, okay, that was too early for that, my bad. Alright, so there's a lot to talk about for this video. Let's get started. In order to give you a complete analysis, there are multiple topics that I will have to cover. These will include how Nigma is a LAN team and what exactly does it mean to be one, a brief recap on how they functioned with Wii and ILTW, was Nigma actually that bad the past 2 seasons, why KuroKy decided to kick his previous cores and why he chose Sumail, Sumail's strengths and weaknesses, if the new Nigma will be a strong team, and what would their road to TI look like. Now, these topics aren't covered in order and are somewhat intertwined with each other, but I'll do my best to separate the segments on the timeline so you guys can skip parts you're not interested in. And of course, I suggest you watch the full video to have a fuller understanding and so that the YouTube algorithm doesn't think we're trash. So as we all know, historically, Nigma is a LAN team, probably one of the most LAN-oriented teams out there, but what does it actually mean to be a LAN team? Well, for Nigma, it's the ability to quickly adjust as a team to strategies and tournament metas. It's the ability to keep their performance while playing in a different environment. And most importantly, to be pretty much immune to pressure. Now, whether if most teams play worse on LAN and how pressure affects gameplay is a whole nother discussion, what's certain is that KuroKy, from what I observed in true sight, him as a captain and noticeably Miracle really excels in adapting to the meta quickly during that typical week-long LAN period, thus making them very competitive on LAN in comparison to drawn-out leagues. With that in mind, let's do a quick recap of their track record and get some questions answered. So I'm just going to go through this part as quick as possible. TI9 is probably the last international event where Nigma really showed their dominance. Basically, they went through having an advanced and complete strategy, meaning that there's a clear win condition, and they themselves understand what the timing of these conditions are. For TI9, Nigma basically have 2 strategies. The first is to pick Miracle as semi-hard carry and Weeha a functional mid. The rest of them pick teamfight heroes, and when Miracle hits his second item timing, they fully shift into a 5-man teamfight mode. This is very apparent if you go back and watch their main stage games. The other strategy, which they used around 30% of the time, is to last pick Weeha a cheese hero and make him the sole win condition. Then they went 9-0 in the lower bracket without dropping a single game until the LGD series. What many people didn't realize was that Wii was actually quite good with Nigma. He's naturally quite a good carry enabler, and his cheese heroes can actually win games. The strength Wii brought to Nigma is quite similar to that of Matumba Man, maybe slightly more because Wii is better at creating space. However, his cheese picks are also limited, just like Matu. There are a good amount of heroes they both don't play. It really depends on the meta, but Nigma with Wii was definitely a strong team. So following TI9, they won the Wii Play Mad Moon tournament reverse sweeping Secret, and then later got destroyed at the One Esports Major 2021. Now that's when KuroKy decided to replace Wii with ILTW. My guess is he desperately wanted to switch Miracle mid. This is not because he thinks Miracle carry isn't as good. One thing to point out, which is also related to them choosing Sumail later, is that KuroKy seems to completely trust Miracle on any role and on any hero, and this is an important point for our later discussions. So with Wii, they actually placed 3rd in both seasons of the 2021 DPC, and when they got last place at the major, Mind Control wasn't even there, so they didn't even have a full lineup, right? They ended up 13th on the DPC point ranking that year and ultimately lost to OG in the TI qualifiers. This is by no means a bad record, and I think removing Wii afterwards was a questionable choice. So I promise we'll start discussing Sumail very soon, but allow me to just cover a few more points. So how bad was Nigma with ILTW? The big question. To answer this one, let's take a look at Tour 1 and 2 of DPC 2022, and as well as Galaxy Dubai. Again, this version of Nigma played with 2 distinct strategies in the DPC. Strategy 1, you put Miracle on a conventional mid and let ILTW do his hard carry, and strategy 2, which they only used around 10% of the time, the classical Miracle Medusa strat. ILTW will pick an enabler for early mid game, some damage output such as, Queen of Pain during that patch. And at Galaxy Dubai, every game ILTW played hard carry. Basically how they lost to Tundra and later Boom was that they would lose a big team fight while trying to choke out the enemy team. They rarely come out the laning phase with a net worth deficit actually, but in that meta, the way they forced pressure keep getting them punished, maybe due to their lineup. So up to this point, Nigma with ILTW really isn't that bad. The real problem was getting relegated in the second season. This is mainly caused by severe drafting issues combined with KuroKy's gameplay being not so sharp compared to previously. Again, they almost never lost the laning phase, but around 20 minutes they end up being powerless due to the issues with their lineup. Around the third series, they started making some very unconventional changes such as putting Miracle on Snapfire and ILTW on Huskar, but obviously that didn't work out. ILTW's performance also exposed some serious problems this season. He keeps getting caught early in the mid game with multiple early game deaths every match as a hard carry. There were also many instances where he does almost no damage output with a high net worth. Then finally against Secret, they decided to bench ILTW. Basically, KuroKy and the team probably thought either ILTW's carry just isn't good enough or maybe his style just doesn't mesh with the team, which is absolutely true. It feels like ILTW's understanding of timings are just a bit off. So was Nigma with ILTW that bad? Well, according to results, not completely. If we take Season 2 out of the picture, it wasn't great but not horrible. I just want to make this clear because Sumail is not on a mission to rescue a team of washed up players from Division 2. They still are and always have been top tier players. Although KuroKy's issues have already been widely noticed by the community, considering how they just kind of flipped the switch on LAN, and most of the recent results are online, it's imprecise to assume that their power level is severely decreased. Now finally, let's talk about the king, the prodigy. The punks still aren't satisfied. They outtake the money instead of the title, Nigma Sumail. So first thing to clear up, is this change an upgrade? Yes, for sure, 100%. Sumail is just a better player than ILTW, especially when it comes to teamfight execution. I'm not too sure if this is a hot take, but it's a fact. Of course, there is a position swap and Sumail is playing mid, so there isn't a direct comparison. But overall, in terms of laning prowess, button pressing, teamfight placement, Sumail is clearly on a higher level. He does have some concerning weaknesses, which we'll talk about in just a second, but those weaknesses are also very apparent with ILTW. So despite that, yes, overall definitely an upgrade, in my opinion. So the first weakness of Sumail is that he rarely starts what I would call a quote-unquote fire on the map, meaning he doesn't make these surprising movements that ultimately and most times indirectly leads to favorable team fights or skirmishes. Most of you probably know what I'm talking about already. For those who don't, it's like when a player goes around the map and then it doesn't really make sense why they are there, but a minute later you realize, oh, that made a lot of space, or oh, that move by Thompson actually initiated a team fight that was really good for his team. Well, yeah, you heard me correct, I said Thompson, because he's at his own tier when it comes to making those moves. And then there's the next tier, which would be players like Abed or maybe mid one back in Secret. So the thing is, most mid players aren't great at this, but are at least decent. It's a skill set that's pretty much required for a mid player ever since 2016, but Sumail always fell short in this department. The other weakness is that he doesn't play win condition mid heroes. He can completely carry a game as position 1. A great example of this is probably his Gyrocopter famous comeback against Secret back in OG. However, as a mid, he usually can't because of his hero pool. He doesn't play mid heroes that scale particularly well, besides like Morphling, and he doesn't have any cheese heroes in his arsenal. So sidetracking just a bit, Secret's problems last season was also partially related to this. Now, considering all that, will Nigma finally go back to becoming one of the best? Will KuroKy have a chance to lift the Aegis again? Will Miracle become God status again? And will the king get his crown back? Well, my answer is yes.
What? What do you mean yes?
Wait, what?
You literally just explained reasons why Sumail wouldn't fit, and now you think they're winning TI.
No, I just said they have a chance.
I am tired of your Miracle fanboy, Sumail fanboy, Nigma believer copium.
No, bro, calm down.
If you want to do YouTube, leave your biased ass takes, your Crusader level analysis, and your cringe ass skits out of your videos.
Alright, just let me explain.
I'm done with you. Keep recording your stupid video.
Alright, so seriously, why I think they can do well? Well, recently Sumail has been grinding out in pubs on his main, and as we can see, his hero pool still hasn't really expanded. He's playing either Evoker, Storm, Ledge, Kunkka, Lina, or Void Spirit, same stuff. Now this might seem like, yeah, Sumail still hasn't made any active changes to his gameplay, and yes, this is a problem, and I really don't know why Sumail isn't trying to do something about it, but I think Nigma is actually one of the only teams that can really make this work because of Miracle. Miracle needs to play in a certain style that ultimately results himself being a hard carry, but at the same time he needs to contribute through most stages of the game, since his mid player isn't very well rounded and only excels in laning and team fights. Now earlier I said that Sumail is bad at creating quote unquote fires around the map, but if your carry is very active and has good early mid game synergy with these supports, you might just get away with it and instead let your team enable you. What I'm saying is Miracle needs to fully enable Sumail to use his advantage from dominating during the mid game, of course if he does, and he also needs to win the condition. He also needs to be the win condition late game. Miracle. Sumail hasn't really been ever fully enabled ever since 2016, and I think one of the only people who can do that is Miracle. I'm not being biased or anything, he's just that good and he's very versatile as well. Now as I'm recording this video, Nigma just beat Ivy 2-0 and Sumail played Coddle and then Earth Spirit, which is a great sign even if it's against the Division 2 team. Those are two heroes we never saw him on, which means his hero pool is at least expanding. Miracle was MK on both games, which sort of fits the hero stereotype that I was talking about just now. So it sounds like I'm literally just saying the team needs to carry Sumail, which is not what I mean at all. It is quite hard to fully utilize the full potential of this player, Sumail, but if Nigma is able to do it, it'll be very powerful. You can think of it as like the past evil geniuses with Fly, Sumail, and Arteezy, but instead of Arteezy, you have Miracle. Just imagine that, right? That's the kind of strategy I think KuroKy should be going for, and I believe he knows what he's doing. It's already Nigma 3.0. They've already kicked 2 carries, and honestly I think Sumail's skill set is very transparent. So if Nigma is signing him, I'm inclined to believe they have a good plan. I really don't think Nigma should utilize Sumail the same way they did for their past 3 carries. That would be the worst case. And then there's another scenario where they just try to play standard Dota around Miracle and Sumail like what LGD and teams like T1 do, right? But I just don't think their positions 3, 4, and 5 are that solid right now, unfortunately. But that's more than okay because KuroKy can win through strategy through correctly enabling his best players. And another important thing I think Nigma possibly have going for them in the future is the patches. For quite some time already, the laning prowess of mid players have made little difference since the lane is often a wash. Having supports rotate to mid on default when the water runes spawn contributes to that, right? And the state of mid lane is just quite boring to watch. I think we've gone too far in that aspect, and it's time, it's about time IceFrog starts to bring it back, and that would be incredible for Sumail and Nigma. That wraps up my prediction on whether the new Nigma will be a strong team. Now let's take a look at how they can make it to TI 11 at Singapore. Just like last year, if you win the qualifiers, you go straight to TI. The 2nd and 3rd places this year, however, get another chance. There will be a LAN shortly before TI. They call it the last chance qualifiers, consisting of 12 teams consisting of 2nd and 3rd places from each regional qualifier. Top 2 advance to TI. Now this is pretty huge for Nigma, and the keyword here is LAN. I do think they'll have a good chance in the regionals as well. Just looking at the DPC point rankings, their biggest contestants will probably include Liquid and Secret, which is not that bad at all. It's double elimination. I think they can do it. In the event that they don't, if they end up making it to the 12-team LAN, there might be some issues because there are going to be some solid Chinese squads attending since their DPC points aren't looking good at all. The next few months of Dota is going to be great. Lots of things happening. Also, as I was making this video, the Fly announcement dropped, and I'll be doing another video for that. It'll be a lot shorter since there's not as much to talk about. So if you like our content, please consider dropping a like or even subscribing. Thanks a lot. See you next time.